and I did, and I never thought one day I'd actually be here trying my best to continue the legacy. I'm going to bring some folks up to talk some more about him. The first person I'd like to bring up is our wonderful superintendent, Mr. Dustin Hunt.
Welcome, everybody. Can't say enough about how amazing our musicians are, and that really leads us into our dedication tonight. 14 years ago, it seems not that long ago, but 14 years ago, I got the privilege to come to Thermopolis as the high school principal. And a recently retired Mr. Bill Malloy was, I believe, our parade grand marshal for homecoming that year. And I will never forget that he took some time during his address to the students to support me as a new principal. And I haven't forgotten that, and I truly do appreciate that. Mr. Malloy, as all of you know, really leaves an incredible legacy. I think, Mr. Brown sharing that he recognized the excellence that Mr. Malloy brought with the students. And if you did not grow up here, you very quickly learn that Mr. Malloy is not just somebody who is involved in music. He's involved in service across the community for his church, for Kiwanis, for our town council, mayor, a number of things, probably too many things to list. But what a legacy that he leaves. And I have to say that I was really pleased when Mr. Rick Engelbrecht, one of our board members, brought forward Mr. Malloy's name to the Board of Trustees to recognize, and it's especially exciting that we get to recognize him and name our auditorium after him. Most times when we have somebody visit Thermopolis that has never been here, one of the things that they always share with me is, I cannot believe for less than 1,000 students your community has an auditorium that is that amazing. And I think it's only fitting that we have somebody's name that has the kind of legacy that Mr. Malloy has shared on an amazing facility, and we do feel awful grateful for that. I want to also share with you that Mr. Malloy is somebody who I don't know if everybody else was kind of paying attention, but he still has that groove. He's over here watching our students, and he's still moving with the beat, and it's just never going to go away. So I told him, it seems kind of strange, but I told him I'm awful proud of him, and he gets to get recognized tonight. And I think it's been a long time coming with a pandemic, because our board recognized Mr. Malloy clear back last year, and so we've been waiting for this opportunity to share with him. I don't have the kind of words that you should hear in recognition of Mr. Malloy, because I was not a student. And so when the board brought forward this recommendation and we decided that we would recognize Mr. Malloy, I agreed that we'd get a plaque ready for Mr. Malloy to honor him, so it hangs in the auditorium as long as the auditorium is here. But I wanted somebody else who maybe had a little bit closer relationship with him, and we decided that that would best be a student. So I have invited Mrs. Kim Jones, who is going to come up here and say a few things about Mr. Malloy, and I am going to reveal Mr. Malloy's plaque that will hang. It will hang in this hallway back here. We're going to have our Jadeco put lights that shine on that, so each time you enter the auditorium for years and years, you'll be able to see Mr. Malloy's plaque. I'm awful proud of you, Mr. Malloy. We'll also have signs in the entryway. But what an honor, what a legacy, and super proud of you, Mr. Malloy. Introduce Mrs. Kim Jones.
First of all, I want to thank everybody who was able to come out tonight, and those of you that are watching online. There were so many students that wanted to be here that just couldn't make the travels here. I was honored when Mr. Hunt and the board asked me to say a few words about Mr. Malloy. He and I go way back before I even started band. When my brother was in band, I would go under the bleachers after the games and clean up all of the music that was left behind and take it into Mr. Malloy. And I don't know, those of you that were students, you remember that great big shelf he had full of candy? He would give me a candy bar out of there every time I would bring in music. And the rest is history. I started band in 5th grade, played the flute all the way through my senior year. I was drum majorette my senior year, and it was Mr. Malloy's last year. I'd like to think that he waited to retire because I was his favorite student. We had so many memories on this stage, on the marching band field, at state marching, so many concerts, festivals, there's just too many to name. It's been a few years since I've been in high school, but the lessons he taught me and all of his other students, they still apply to us today. I still use them every day. He had what he always liked to call the 5 P's of success. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Over the years, I've developed my own 5 P's of success because of Mr. Malloy. Number 5 is, of course, be prepared. When we were in band, he told us to bring our instrument, our music, and our pencil, and our brain. If you didn't bring your brain to class, don't bother coming at all. Number 4 was practice, practice, practice. He told us to only practice on the days that we would eat. He made the mistake of telling our class to only practice on the days you brush your teeth, and one of the drummers in the back piped up and said, "I don't brush my teeth." So he made sure to say it was only on the days that we ate. Number 3 is punctuality. There were a few band trips where a couple students got left behind. If he said the bus leaves at 6, by golly, the bus leaves at 6. There was nobody there at 6:01, and you had to find your own way. I remember one of the students walked into jazz band late, and he goes, "Where were you?" And she said, "Well, it snowed. There was ice on my car, there were bad roads," and he says, "So?" There was never an excuse for Mr. Malloy. He said, "Get up early. You knew it was going to snow. The roads are bad. It's winter in Wyoming. Get up early so you can be where you need to be on time." As drum majorette, he taught me one of the greatest lessons I have ever learned and that I still use every day. And it's lead by example. He said, "The drum majorette is the first one on the field. You make sure your team gets there. If they don't have a ride, guess what? You're picking them up. And you're the last one to leave. If they don't have a ride home, guess what? You're their ride home too." Number 2, this was one of his other infamous phrases that he liked to use, was pertinacity is the key to success. It's persistent determination. It's courage, conviction, and a little bit of stubbornness, or in some cases, a lot. He was determined to have the best marching band in the state when he started, and he did. And number 1 is passion. He told us if we do anything, play with passion. Everything you do in life should be done with passion. He said, "Nobody wants to kiss somebody who kisses like a dead fish." And Mr. Malloy was always passionate about us students. If you have the chance on your way downstairs, going out the door, take a look at that trophy case down there. Every single one of those trophies is a testament to this man's passion and pertinacity. But I want you to know that your legacy isn't held behind the glass doors of a trophy case. It lives on in the heart of every student that you've ever taught. You set high expectations for us and taught us how to achieve them. You taught us life lessons that are valuable beyond words. You taught us to be responsible for ourselves and for our team and our family. You taught us that hard work and dedication will always be rewarded. You taught us to be better musicians. But most importantly, you made us become even better people. On behalf of all of your students, we thank you. And there's one more thing. Mr. Hunt asked me to come up with kind of a key phrase that Mr. Malloy was known for. And I said, "Oh, I've got one." He goes, "No, make sure it's appropriate." Of course, the only one that was appropriate was pertinacity is the key to success.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I thank the school board. I thank the school board for giving me this tremendous honor. You guys, everybody, just be a little patient. And any of you ex-students, I will finish before midnight. But I do want to say a few things. The other day, I had one of my Christian brothers say, "Are you still going to be humble after they give you this great honor?" And I tell you, I am extremely honored, and I'm also extremely humble. And especially after thinking how I've been thinking about this the last several weeks. Well, actually, since the time they told me they were going to name the auditorium after me, I've been thinking about this, and it made me realize, thinking back, how much God's hand has been in my entire life, and I give all the glory to this 100% to God. And I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you why. I never really thought about this so much along the route, but I just want to share some things with you, and some things that were just almost miracles. I really believe, and I always have, that God has a plan for each and every one of us. And if we're in His will, we're going to be blessed. And I have very definitely been blessed from the time I came here. The Lord brought me to Thermopolis in 1963. In 1963, the University of Wyoming says, list 3 places you'd like to student teach. I said I'd like to student teach in Laramie, Wheatland, or Torrington. But I ended up in Thermopolis. And I probably would have been the last place I would have put on my list. I've been through Thermopolis, and I never thought too much about it. But the day I walked in here, my whole life changed. I was totally blessed when I came here. I was surprised. I thought I was coming to a little town that probably had a 10-piece band and very, very little going on. I didn't realize we had this. I walked into a place here that had a 90-piece band when I came here, and had over 60% of the junior high kids in the band program. And I worked under 2 gentlemen, Al Clement and Bob Hill. They were my supervising teachers. And I guarantee you I learned more from those 2 guys than I learned in 4 years of college. So I was tremendously blessed. The year I came here, the high school band, at that time, I was shocked. They just got done making a record, and they were chosen to play at the National MENC conference in Portland, Oregon that year. I was just so shocked at what they had here, and I really feel tremendously blessed. Had great administrators here at that time. Thermopolis has always had great administrators. And at that time, Norman Michelson was the superintendent here. And when I left here, both Bob Hill and Al Clement said they were planning on leaving that year. So I put an application in for the jobs. And Norman Michelson told me before I left at the end of February, he said, if the junior high job opens up, it's yours. But he said, I'd like to get an experienced man for the high school job. So I went back on campus the 1st of March, and I never even applied for any other jobs because I knew that both these gentlemen were leaving that year, but I never heard any more. All my friends were getting jobs. By the end of April, everybody that I went out student teaching with all had jobs except me. So I thought, well, maybe they changed their mind. So I interviewed with the superintendent from Evanston, Wyoming on a Monday morning, and he left me a contract. He says, Bill, if you will want this job, he says, I'll leave you this contract. You can mail it, put it in the mail on Friday, and the job at Evanston is yours. So I held on to it. I was living at home at that time. And at Friday, I went home for lunch on that Friday, and I told my mother and dad, I says, well, I guess I'll take this contract and I'll sign it and I'll mail it at 4 o'clock today after I get out of class. And I'll take the job at Evanston. Well, at 2 o'clock that day, Norman Michelson called my parents. My dad answered the phone. He says, "Is Bill there?" My dad says, "No." "Well, do you know where he's at?" My dad says, "Well, he's somewhere at the University of Wyoming. I don't know where he's at." Somehow, he found me on the second floor of the College of Education. Most people would say, "Well, I'll call back later tonight or tomorrow." But I got called out of class about 2:30 that afternoon. It was Norman Michelson, and says, "Do you still want the job in Thermopolis?" Man, I jumped for joy. And another hour and a half or so, I would have ended up in Evanston. And I'm so thankful I ended up in Thermopolis. So that was kind of almost a miracle that happened. But again, it shows you that the Lord puts you where He wants you. I really feel that I taught in some of the best times and I want to share some of these things with you, why I give the Lord the credit. First of all, I had some tremendous students at that time. Tremendous students, and we had a lot of students, and they were willing to work hard, very, very hard. I had good community support. I'll give you an example of that. I was figuring up here a while back, from 1970, I started the Wildcat Band, which was all of our junior high and high school students combined. And from 1970 until I retired around 2005, I figured we raised, the students raised over $2 million in this town so that they could travel all over the travel they did. They bought a lot of the equipment that the band program had had. And that's a lot of candy bars to sell to raise $2 million. But most of you people know we were always out there raising money, and these kids did it. And we also had kids that came out at 7 o'clock every morning and rehearsed from 7 till 10. Many times came back and rehearsed it after supper till about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and usually always had sectionals in the afternoon. 1969, I was blessed again. I met my wife in 1968. We got married in 1969. She had a boy, and then we had my son Mike in 1972. And I didn't know it at the time I got married to her, but she had been a drum majorette in Nebraska. And I really didn't know how to make a drum majorette look great. I knew they had to direct like a director, but I didn't know how to do it. So she taught my first drum majorette and helped me to learn how to get the most out of drum majorettes. Kim was one of my drum majorettes. And almost every drum majorette that I had in all those years, always when we went to state marching, came away with the most outstanding drum major award. And so that's another way that I've been blessed. I also got saved here in 1984, November of 1984. I came to know the Lord as my personal Savior. And after that time, I've even been blessed more and more and more. My whole life has been blessed, but as I look back, everything along the way, the Lord has helped me with it, and been there for me, and I cannot get, all the glory has to go for Him. And as you know, I traveled, did a lot of traveling with the bands. We traveled all over South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado. 12 trips to the Calgary Stampede, Edmonton. We competed with bands from all over the world, bands like John F. Kennedy High School from Sacramento, California, the Santa Ana Winds from California, bands from Argentina. We competed with the best of them, and we won so many awards, and it was all because of the students that I had and the support from the community. My wife passed away in 2009, and I went through a little period of depression at that time, but the Lord blessed me again. He brought another wonderful friend into my life, my friend Donna, who is a wonderful, godly lady, and I've been blessed again there. I've been serving ever since I retired. I really didn't want to retire necessarily at the time, but I did, mostly because they paid me more money when I retired than when I was working. I got to tell you another little story. When I came here, I started out here at $4,000. The guy I worked for in the Laramie at the time, Don Schaefer, offered me $10,000 if I would stay in Laramie and be a manager of his new store. But I said, no, I want to teach. So I came here and taught for $4,000. I thought I'd lost my mind at the time, but as I look back now, the Lord put me where he wanted me. So I'm very thankful for that. So anyway, it's been a tremendous honor to be here for this award, and I'm very humble, and like I say, all glory 100% goes to our God. And the other thing I want to say about this little community here, we can still give Christmas concerts. We can still salute the flag. We still support our troops. I was told many times, Bill, we can't call that a Christmas concert anymore. I said, what are we going to call it? We can't call it a Christmas concert. We got to call it a winter concert. You got to quit playing Silent Night, Oh Holy Night. All you can play is Jingle Bells and Up on the Housetop. We're still calling it a Christmas song, Christmas concert, and we're still playing songs about our Savior. And I hope that always remains here in Thermopolis, Wyoming. To God be the glory. I won't take any more of your time, but someday I'm going to write a book about all this, and I'll make sure you get a copy. Anyway, the superintendent here asked me if I would direct the band in the school song, which I'm honored to do that. I'm going to do that in just a moment. And then he asked me if I'd direct Battle Hymn of the Republic. But I'd love to have, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see every kid, band, drama, everything, on their list on this auditorium somewhere, not just me, but everybody. But I'm going to ask one of my students to come up to represent all of the students. So I'm going to ask Kim, after I direct the school song, to come back and direct Battle Hymn of the Republic. The last concert I gave here on this stage, Kim directed the last song, Battle Hymn of the Republic. I cried that night. She told me not to cry tonight. But I'm going to allow her to come up and direct it, because nobody ever directed that song the way she did. At state marching, she was tremendous. All my drum majorettes were tremendous, but I'll never forget the job she did. I cried every time they did that, so I'm going to have her come after I direct the school song to come and direct Battle Hymn of the Republic. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, Kim, it's all yours. You're on time, aren't you?
we get one more giant a round of applause for William H. Malloy? Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much. Well, folks, we got 3 more songs for you this evening. I know it's kind of been a long one, but like Bill said, we'll get out of here before midnight, maybe. This is the Bobcat Concert Band in front of you. This band has been through a tremendous amount this year. We did a virtual marching festival. We did a virtual district festival, but we got to